about what you can do with PowerShell today, of course, especially around Power Apps and Power Automate, and then how you can take these things that you can do with PowerShell and maybe take it a step further and start automating and delegating this task, and maybe starting to delegate the execution to people outside of the people who are really very deep into PowerShell. And because we are here today on a Saturday, we thought, there should be something that you can really get, not just all the knowledge, but maybe also get some fun. So we have created a little raffle page. We're going to give away 3 Amazon gift cards at the end of the session. And I just posted the link to that page where you can just type in your name and your email address. And at the end of the session, we will take, of course, PowerShell to raffle the winners. So if you're interested in that, please go ahead and try to win these gift cards, which will happen at the end of the session. All right, so I'm from ScriptRunner, and so we are into PowerShell management. We've been around for a couple of years, and our goal is to simplify the way that you develop, manage, and delegate PowerShell scripts. And what that means, I will show you later on, of course. So this is part of our team. This is me. So you can get in touch with me on the usual channels, on Twitter, on LinkedIn. I have via email, whatever. You can even phone me if you like. And as I said, we are also pretty much into helping people starting with PowerShell, and we are very much into also the community around Microsoft and PowerShell and stuff like that. And one of the things that we are doing is we're giving away PowerShell cheat sheets, which is kind of a poster that you can put on your wall, which shows you the things that you maybe use every day or maybe just rarely, and you want to just have a cheat sheet to find out, okay, how was that Active Directory and how was the pipeline working and stuff like that. So you can always you can go to our website and get this. We'll send it just around the globe, actually. So that might be something that helps you as well on your PowerShell journey, and that's as I said, one of our goals. So that's why we want to talk about, okay, what you can do actually with PowerShell and in combination with Power Apps and Power Automate. And I'm going to show you a few examples here as well. And and PowerShell is around. They tell us always it's around since 2006. I found some evidence that it might be even around a little bit longer, maybe even coming back from the Viking times, who knows? Just a little fun fact here. Let's take a look at the PowerShell and Power Apps and Power Automate. So the things that you can do with it, and so it's there to generate. If we really look at the Power App and Power Automate modules alone, it's like managing your flows, your Power Apps, your environments, creating new environments, deleting environments. And there are a couple of modules out there. So one is the module for the administrative tasks, which is the administrator. Then we have the maker module, and we have the checker module for static analysis checks. And then we have still additional ones coming from Microsoft, but also from the community, which is always great when we talk about PowerShell, because there is a great community building scripts, building modules that are being published so everybody can use it. For this session, I'm going to pretty much focus on the administrator and the maker part of the modules that we have here. And there are a few prerequisites to be able to use that modules. And that which relates to permissions and the licensing, basically, especially if you want to use the administrator part to really have a possibility to not just look at your own flows or Power Apps, but really manage the flows and Power Apps throughout your whole organization. And with this, there are here I put in some example use cases when it comes to managing your environments, the users, the owners in your Power Apps and your flow, also to disable flows, or basically to start with getting some overview, which is typically always the starting point to take a look at, okay, what is my current state of my flows, of my Power Apps, of my environments, and then really also creating reports out of that. And so this is where I'm going to switch to my good old ISE. Hopefully you can see this pretty soon. Just see where it is. Okay, it's not here yet. Should come up pretty soon. Just a second. Let me just see. I think I need another 10 seconds to show you that. It's just to enhance the excitement. I will be there pretty soon. All right, let me just switch that over here. Okay, so as I said, I'm still here in the good old ISE world. I still actually have to admit I prefer that because it's more clean if you just do really PowerShell stuff. So what I've actually already done here, I have installed the modules from the gallery, the administrator and the maker one, and I've created a connection to my Office 365 tenant and to the Power Apps endpoint, which is kind of happens a little bit different than if you're doing that with Exchange or with other Microsoft services. It's a little bit different. So I think here you can see that it's a different team that did things a little bit differently. But anyway, so once I'm connected, I can get some overview about my current environment or environments. In my case, I only have one. I can see where it's located. For example, I've got, of course, could also use the new admin Power App environment to create new environments as well, or delete environments. And then, of course, the next step is to really get some information about, okay, what kind of Power Apps I have already in my environment. So what I'm doing here in line 38 is I'm taking my current environment ID and take a look at, okay, what in this case, what Power Apps are existing in my environment, which I, of course, also could use together also with other things to create a more proper report about all the different informations and properties of that Power App that I have here. For example, and of course get all this different informations, which also is sometimes important information is when it comes to what kind of connections are being used in your environment. And this is something, of course, you can also do with PowerShell to get some information about what services are being used in combination with which apps actually. What we see here is that you always see that GUID, that IDs popping up, which is something, of course, you can change and get a way to get some sensible name here. But from a technical side, it's always about the IDs in the background to get this information. And you could also strip that down into saying, okay, I want to get some information about a specific connector. So and to see where it's being used. In this case, it would be the one for the shared Office 365, for example. So these are things helping with, again, getting some overview about how my Power App environment actually looks like. And then if I have custom connectors, which will come back also later on, that's of course something else that's sometimes important to understand, to see where are they used, how are they used, and also to look at the permissions for the particular, maybe for all Power Apps or maybe just for particular Power Apps. And on the Power Automate side, of course, there's always again the first step to get some overview about the existing flows and getting some information about that. But here, of course, it's also about enabling, disabling flows. And I mean, this is where, of course, PowerShell comes into the picture, where it's maybe just not doing it for a single flow, but maybe doing it for a couple of flows, or adding not just one user, but really having some bulk operations. This is, of course, where PowerShell is really great, instead of doing all that step by step via the UI or by hand. And it's of course also about getting some information, what kind of roles you have, what kind of permissions you have in your environment, here in your flow. So here I have a couple of environments and flows, and get some information about who is actually part of that and belongs to that flow, which I'm just piping into the grid view to get some, not just the text information back. And taking that a step further, of course, you can also do things like really creating some real proper reports, so to speak, where we have an example right here. So as a result, if we run that, I'm getting a CSV file back that gives me an overview about the existing permissions for my flows, who's the owner, who has access to it, or to really get some more detailed information about my existing flows here as well. So these are basically all things that you can do with PowerShell, and there are, of course, many more possibilities. And the great thing about that is, as you are familiar with PowerShell and you have the permissions and the right credential to do all that in the background, it's really awesome to do all that stuff. What then might be the next idea, or the next step might be to see, okay, I've built that one-liner and that scripts, and I can run them, and it's all fine. But wouldn't it be cool if I could take all that and give it to somebody, and somebody in helpdesk should be able to maybe add users to a flow, or disable, enable flow, or manage flows and Power Apps in general. And many times it's like, okay, these are people who are most probably not really that familiar with PowerShell. And even more, I'm pretty sure that these people will not be getting any admin permission to do things in your Power Apps or over 65 environment, obviously. And here, this is where our ScriptRunner solution comes into the picture, where we are adding additional value to the great framework of PowerShell. Which means, of course, there are some challenges that we see once in a while when PowerShell is being used, not just for Power Apps or 65, but for PowerShell in general, which pretty much often starts with, okay, where's the latest script for creating a new Power Apps environment? Where is it in an email? Is it somewhere? Do we have it in Git already, or maybe is it somewhere on network shares or stuff like that? So it's pretty much, in many cases at least, let's say unorganized. I don't want to call it chaotic, but maybe unorganized. The other thing is really the lack of PowerShell, the PowerShell knowledge that we see outside of the IT pro expert circle. So really to think about giving a script to somebody in helpdesk to manage something with it. These people typically are maybe not really that familiar on the command line, and so they want to have some kind of user interface and some easy way to really use and work with that. And so another challenge that if you look at PowerShell is, of course, how to handle credentials, just to connect to your Power App endpoints, to whatever endpoints, could be Azure or VMware, whatever. Of course, these are essential secure information where, of course, you can encrypt them, but then it works only on your own machine. If you give that script to somebody else, you have to find another way. And so that's really something that we also see, that the credential management on an org-wide level is kind of not there if you look at PowerShell as it is. And so as a result, typically it's really the IT people, the IT pros, DevOps people who are not just writing this PowerShell stuff, but also the only ones who can run these scripts like in this magical PowerShell circle, so to speak. And so from our perspective, it's really like the potential that PowerShell brings with all the great stuff that it can do is really remains untapped. And so that's where the idea comes into the picture. How would that be if you have a more organized way of using PowerShell? Which would mean, okay, we start to standardize on making sure, number one, we have the process standardized, and we can make sure that we always, no matter if it's user A or B, or maybe if it's a scheduled process, it's always happening with the same script, with the right version of a script. Then centralization, making everything available in a single place, which also, of course, is very important when it comes to monitoring purposes. So you can see what happened at what time, what happened with the scripts, and how often specific scripts maybe have been executed. And another thing is, of course, make it, if we think about, okay, it should be somebody in helpdesk or maybe a line of business user working with PowerShell, but then maybe without even knowing that it's PowerShell in the background. It has to be easy. So kind of the idea here is really to kind of take something like this, and transfer it into something that's really easy to use, where somebody who works with that doesn't have to really know that PowerShell exists, and you don't have to train them on all that stuff. And so, but that's one of the key things to really to make sure, okay, this is not just a technology for the experts, but it's really something that helps the whole organization. And then, as I said, monitoring, of course, is an important aspect here, as well as integration, in the sense of taking that PowerShell stuff and not just letting it executed by a user or by a scheduled task, but really maybe enable other systems to talk and to make use of creating and executing the scripts in a centralized way. And so the question is, how is the way to achieve that? And this is where we come to this 5-step approach. And so the first step really is to centralize all of the modules and scripts that you want to use, and you want to start to delegate. And so it can be your Power App, your Power Automate scripts, can be all your scripts ending up in a central repository, which of course can be synchronized with GitHub or TFS or Azure DevOps, for example. And this also means that, again, depending on where you are on your PowerShell journey, you might say, okay, I don't even have scripts at the moment that I would be able to work with and to delegate and to automate. And so here is also some help from our side on github.com/scriptrunner/action-packs. You find hundreds of scripts for all different use cases, for the Power Platform, for Exchange Online, for Azure, for VMware, for Windows Client Management. So again, depending on where you are on your PowerShell journey, you can just go there, take a look at it, use them, modify them to your needs. They are there to really help you, maybe also to give you some inspiration about what you could do with PowerShell at the next step. And then the second part, as I said, is credential management. It's about the security stuff, which means, on one hand, which is important to understand, is that when we look at the solution where ScriptRunner handles the execution of PowerShell scripts, it's really the only instance that really runs the scripts, which means connecting to your backend systems, cloud, on-premise, hybrid, whatever, only happens within ScriptRunner and your backend systems. And the users on the other side, they only talk to the ScriptRunner solution, and you delegate within ScriptRunner what kind of tasks this user should be able to fulfill. And these users don't need to have any access to your backend systems, and they don't need to have any permissions to do that. So that again makes it, of course, easy and especially secure to delegate particular tasks within your platforms without the need of making these people here global admin, for example. And what also helps here is the support of password servers. So when we talk about the credentials, they could be stored on locally in the Windows credential store, but it also could be that you might already use password servers like CyberArk, Pleasant, or Psychotic. And though in this case, we would just make use of the scripts, the credentials over there. So if you have, let's say, password rotation enabled, then there is no need to make sure, okay, I have to maintain this manually, because in real time, when it's necessary to establish a connection to our Power Platform, we ask that password servers to get the information that are correct at the moment when we run that script. And so that's really another way of simplifying the whole process. And talking about security, another thing that we also provide is an ebook that describes in general what kind of security opportunities and features you have and options you have in PowerShell directly. It's a 140 pages ebook. It's really in depth. It's not a marketing paper. It really gives you a lot of technical information. So that might also be interesting for you to look at that. All right. So the next step is we want to make it easy for the user to work with that stuff, and to maybe really make sure that this user maybe don't even know that PowerShell is doing things in the background magically. And an example you see here, so this is just a web input form that in this case, it's a use case creating a new team. And so what happens here is that we take a look at your scripts, the synopsis and the parameter block, and create this user interface. Plus, you can configure what kind of information should be actually visible. So this new team command, that, for example, has many parameters, but we only see 3 of them because they are hidden in the configuration. They are still there, and if you have pre-configured security settings, coming back to the standardization aspect of the whole stuff, of course, it's still there. It's being used when the script is executed by a ScriptRunner, but it's nothing that we have to bother the user with. So only the things that really need attention of the user is being displayed here, and that is true for all kind of things that you might want to implement with PowerShell. And so this is something where, yeah, it can be any user because it's just a web interface, and I will show you later on that it's even more easy to work with that, maybe in an existing web page, for example. And then you can start delegating this particular tasks to help those people, maybe to sub-admins, to end users. And depending on the delegation, a user, so each tile here represents a use case. And so depending on the delegation within ScriptRunner, this user might see like 6 tiles, 5 tiles, 20 tiles, whatever, depending on what job this person should be able to fulfill. And so besides the fact that there are users working with that, the second part, of course, could be scheduled processes for housekeeping, for reports and stuff like that. The third one is enabling other systems to make use of that centralized PowerShell hub, so to speak, where you have a workflow system with all the approval process, or you have a ServiceNow or an SAP or whatever system, and that can be enabled to also trigger all these centralized components within PowerShell to make use of that in that scenario as well. And so manually scheduled and automatic. These are the things how you can trigger this scripts. And what I want to show you, because I'm going to switch to my demo environment again, is kind of a two-way approach. So when it comes to using our solution together with the Power Platform, so one is really using ScriptRunner to automate delegate tasks in the Power Platform in Office 365 or in other platforms, and the other one is actually using, for example, a flow to trigger the execution of a script somewhere in ScriptRunner. So we'll take a look at both of these scenarios. And so with this, I will switch to my demo environment. Just that. All right. just looking at the chat if there is some questions so far. It doesn't look like it. Oh, Linha, you're here again. Hi. Okay, great. So here we have the centralized script repository that I talked about earlier on. And so I have about 1,000 something scripts, and I can just filter for my Power App scripts, for example, so I can see them here. You might also realize that we detect if a script contains functions, because then you could later on decide you want to work just with a particular function or maybe with the whole script. We also have things like query scripts, which I will come back later on, because this is something that's very, very helpful to make sure users are working with PowerShell, so to speak, as easy as possible. And so here all kinds of scripts are available here in this repository. Now, as I mentioned, this GitHub repository of ours, it's most of the scripts really coming from this repository right here. Which is at github.com/scriptrunner/actionpacks. And if we go to Office 65, then we will see that there we have the Power Apps sample scripts, we have for Exchange Online, we have also, because it has been a question earlier on, also here we have a sample script to how to set user licenses in Azure Active Directory, for example, or for the Power Apps module, and we constantly updating these scripts as new functionalities become available. Just like recently in the Exchange Online part, Microsoft added the possibility to now manage also my analytics settings. So we added examples here for this as well. So this again might be very, very helpful to take a look at what you can actually do with PowerShell, and also it might give you an idea how we write the scripts and provide the scripts, which is basically based on the best practice of Microsoft, which means we have a synopsis where we have parameter descriptions, which is very, very helpful because, as I said, we automatically create a user interface, and to display the user the meaning of that parameter, of course, the description is very important. So, so we take this information, which also means if you have a script and you change that parameter description and you hit save and you refresh the page, and this change will take effect immediately, of course. So parameter input, parameter descriptions are important. Then we have all the different parameter types, which also we of course take into consideration when we then later on run that and use that script in the background. For example, if something is mandatory, it has to be filled out, or if there's a regex, regular expression there, and the input doesn't fit to the regular expression, then we will not execute that script, for example. And we also add additional information to all that different to the scripts, which helps to control what you want to display to the user. Maybe you also want to control the behavior of a script depending on what user started or executed, or not executed, but triggered the execution of that script, and from which IP address maybe this from which machine that this happens. So this is something that you can just take a look at here on our action packs, and as I said, here it becomes part of our solution. Here you also see that we detect if there is some errors in a PowerShell script, which make sure that we don't trying to execute and delegate scripts that have some errors here. Second step, credentials. So here we have the credentials for the different backend systems. So it could be on-premises system, or in our case now today, of course, it's an Office 65 credential. And so here you have a different ways of storing these credentials. Talking about PowerShell and PowerShell 7, which of course enables you to do things in Linux and Mac OS. We can also support SSH, for example. And so here I have a mix of different credentials being stored locally. This one here for my local Exchange server comes from a Pleasant server, which means if I'm using that, there is no credential. It's just the ID of this credential. So we use this to request the information whenever a connection has to be established. And that happens with the targets. And targets are the actual backend system, and there could be all kinds of on-premise and of course cloud targets. And if I'm looking at an Office 365 target here, I can, for example, decide what kind of endpoints, what kind of services I want to work with. Now you might wonder, okay, there is no Power Apps here, and I'll show you how we at the moment support Power Apps and how to connect to the Power Apps and Power Platform. But this basically also means, for example, looking at Exchange, the new XOV2 module now supporting certificate-based authentication, something that, of course, you can configure here as well. And so, which also means the credential that we need to connect to Office 365 or to Azure or to Exchange or to SharePoint or whatever, it's all managed within ScriptRunner. So there is no credential information at all in your scripts, which is, of course, number one, a very important thing in regards to security. And it's very important in the sense of simplifying your scripts and concentrating really on the use case and don't have all that management stuff around. And which is, of course, also very true when it comes to building an UI, because we're doing it automatically. So there is no need to write any UI code at all. All right, so we have the scripts, we have credentials, we have targets. And with this, we can create what we call action. And an action could be, okay, I want to get an information about my existing Power Platform environment. So let's say, okay, I want to see my existing Power Apps. So this is an action, and I'm here, and I'm still in the admin context. And so there's nothing much to do here instead of just clicking on OK. And then what happens now in the background, ScriptRunner executes the script. I can click on that button here, and I can see in real time what's actually happening in the background, hopefully successfully connecting to my Power App, Power Platform backend, and then coming back with some information. So while that's running, I want to show you that in the edit mode, because this already shows a little bit about this whole philosophy and how we simplify how to use PowerShell, because here we already have a number of parameters that is part of the script, but they were not being visible because they have been pre-configured, like the environment ID, and it's set to hidden. And so based on that, you decide really what should be there for the user to see and to change, and what are the things that you really just doing in the background and when we execute the scripts. And so that's what's actually happening right here. And as I said, when we just looked at the Office 365 target that we have, I said, okay, there is no Power App endpoint and service at the moment. And so what we're doing here is, in our main script, we have we connect to the Power App environment, and there is a function for it. And this function is not part of my main script, because this function I want to use that in 15 different scripts where I'm using, where I want to do something with Power Apps or Flow. And that's why we put that into a library script. And so what we're doing here is that every time I need something from a library function, I'm just adding that and telling this ScriptRunner action, okay, before you execute the main script, please preload this script as well, so that the function that we called from the main script is already there. And that, again, also is something that really simplifies the whole process of using PowerShell and the way you write and maintain your PowerShell scripts. And so, okay, so I think the execution has been done. So we can take a look at it. So here I can see, okay, this was the user admin started this action, and we got some result back here. And so if we're happy with that, I could say, okay, now I want to delegate that to somebody, maybe, I don't know, to whatever team or maybe multiple teams. However, I want to do that. And here you can see we can work with kind of color schemes. You can make it easy, like, okay, all Power Apps actions are in purple. Other actions for Azure are in green or something like this. So this is how you start to delegate and saying, okay, now somebody else should be able to actually use that. And so now I'm switching role, so to speak. So now I'm a user in helpdesk, and this is this user, Tina, just a normal domain user. And based on the delegation within ScriptRunner, I'm now able to, as this user, if I'm looking at using this switching here and using this filter, I have this action available here. So here it's even more simplified, so I can just click on run, and I get some information back here once that action has been finished. And so based on that approach, you can start delegating all kinds of different use cases. So let's say you want to allow somebody to configure who's able, who can edit or view a flow, for example. Now here, compared to what we saw on the native PowerShell console, of course we still need the flow name, which is actually the ID. We need the principal object IDs. But instead of writing that and to find out, okay, what's the right GUID, we have already a drop-down list of this existing flows and the existing users, and I'm just configuring the role of this user. I'm just clicking on that, and then we're taking a look at how that works, because what happens here, again, simplifying the whole process, instead of just providing an input form, we have activated queries here, and this queries, in this case over here, it shows us the existing flows. This shows us our Power Apps users. Now, looking at the queries over here, which is another part of the solution, this is pretty cool, because here, what happens is there is a script that provides an information, which is on one hand the one that I'm displaying to the user, which is the one here on the left side, display value, and on the right side it's the technical information. That's what we're actually using when the script is executed. Coming back to the goal of simplification, of course, is the user doesn't need to know anything about this technical stuff on the right side. We only have the thing that hopefully the user knows what to select and then make the right choices. The same is true for having this Power App users here. So we again, of course, we have the technical information, which are the ones over here on the right side, and then we have the users on the left side. Now, this could be, of course, a huge list. So in big environment, you don't want to do that in real time. So that's why you can also run that in cached mode, which means now in this case, when the user uses this interface, it's been available immediately. Because at the latest 2 hours ago, we refreshed the cache of this properties of this information. And so that really, of course, helps to make it as easy as possible and quick to work with that whole functionality. And so in other cases, you might have scenarios where you say, okay, it's not just a user who should work with that, but maybe you want to have some scheduled parts where you maybe, I don't know, create things like a report on a regular basis that gives you information about your current environment. So this could be something, of course, that you schedule. And so this is, as I said, the second part of how you can use that scripts here and ScriptRunner to say, okay, how often do you want to run that particular script, or maybe on a particular workday, or then you want to send a notification if something goes wrong. So all these housekeeping reports scenarios you can build in here. So everything that you have maybe already built based on PowerShell, and maybe you are thinking about getting rid of all these decentralized Windows task schedulers, that could be the way to go. Coming back to the user scenario, you might even think about, okay, I have this nice little looking user interface here that comes back with some information, which also, by the way, could be HTML. So it looks a little bit nicer. You could even say, okay, I want to make this available in my existing self-service portal, for example. So you could take each of these actions, all the things that we can do with PowerShell, and say, okay, I want to integrate that as an iframe, in this case, into this user interface that's web portal, self-service portal, SharePoint site, whatever, which of course makes it even easier to use that functionality and to get the job done. So these people don't even need to know that not just PowerShell exists. They don't need to know that, and they don't even need to know that there is some ScriptRunner doing things under the hood. It's just getting the job done. And that really is, I think, a great way of taking PowerShell to a level where we can really make PowerShell a real solution, because it's not just a technical thing that you as the IT pros and PowerShell experts can use, but it's really something that the whole organization can make use of. And so this is kind of a few examples I wanted to show you, like, okay, manage, in this case, Power App with ScriptRunner, and also said, okay, of course, there is also the other way around of saying, okay, I want to trigger these scripts maybe from within Power App. So here I'm in my Office 365 environment, and here I have an action to actually create a new team. So just do that very quickly. Because I have to be quick so we can do the raffle in time. Well, correctly. That works. So what happens here is actually, okay, it's a, well, you wouldn't do it this way maybe, but it's just to show you the idea. So here there is a Power App or a flow that triggers the execution of, well, of what actually. So there is a custom connector that consists of the configuration of this team action. I have a local gateway, Microsoft data gateway on my ScriptRunner server. So what happens in this case is that if everything goes right, and I take a look at the dashboard, because here I can see all the activities of all the different aspects. Okay, here, oh no, this is an old, oh no, this is the one. Yes, perfect. All right, so here, if I'm looking at the report here, we should see that, okay, there was a user, that's my login on the Office 365 tenant, triggered this team PowerShell script, and because it's real time, it always shows us where it's at the moment. But we also can see that this now happens via a web service connector, and that means that the custom connector talked to the gateway, and this talked to the ScriptRunner web service connector and triggered the execution of this action. And this is just one example how that integration part can work. So in this case, it was a Power App. In other cases, it could be a SharePoint workflow. It could be, as I said, ServiceNow, SAP, whatever. The idea really is to have, okay, I have a centralized hub for all PowerShell activities. In this case, it's ScriptRunner. And so even if there is maybe a other solution that is able to do some things with PowerShell to really centralize it and have it manageable in a secure way, that's what ScriptRunner provides. Which also means, of course, you would not start using that just because you want to write some PowerShell scripts for Power Automate and Power Apps, right? So it's really about if PowerShell is one of your important technologies to automate all your stuff in your environment, then of course this solution makes this solution really, I think, makes perfect sense to add value to that PowerShell world, so to speak. Which means if you look at what we're doing, we're sitting on top again of PowerShell and enabling, you could say, really the whole organization to work with and to use PowerShell in all kinds of different ways. And if you would like to maybe test that, you can go to our website and work and install it in your environment and work with it. We can always arrange an individual session, of course, to talk about your individual use cases and environments and whatnot, so to get some into more detailed. And so with this, I think because I would have to look at the list that has been created by you guys wanting to win our these Amazon gift cards, which is cool because we have, I think, almost 30 people joining, which is great. So while I'm talking to you, I'm going to get hopefully the right information so we can make this raffle, which of course also going to happen within ScriptRunner. So hopefully that's going to work in real time. It shouldn't be that difficult, but we never know. So let me just see. In the meantime, let me just say if there is any additional question. Okay, action packs are awesome. Okay, thank you. Highly integrated, yeah. Actually, I think the idea really is to as I said, if PowerShell is part of your automation journey and you want to really make sure it is done in a way that really helps not just you, but your whole organization, then I think really that's the best way to do it. And it's a very powerful way of not just, again, as I said, having it used somewhere in the magic circles around PowerShell, but really kind of, well, democratize PowerShell, if you will. So it's a big word, but maybe that's something that's you could say, okay, that's behind the whole story, so to speak. All right, so I have all the data that I need to do the raffle. Let me just see. Yes. So what I'm going to do is, the excitement is it's I can feel it. I just have to just quickly get that data into my ScriptRunner machine, and so we can really do that in real life. I hope you're still with me. All right, so here we are. Okay, so let's see if it works. Let's keep the fingers crossed. So I have a little action here. Sounds like a song, actually. So I have a little action, and so as is this one. So there's a script that looks at get texty get random functionality. Actually, I can show you if you would like to see that. Just to see that there's also, you can do some fun with all that little stuff here. Where is it? No, that's not the one. Okay, still have 10 minutes. This is the one, I think. Yes. So, all right. So we are taking a CSV file that I've created from our CRM, where you have registered for with your name and email address, and we are going through that list. Take the get random, mark somebody as yes, this person has won, so to make sure that this person is not able to win the next time. And so with this, let me just go to that app again and to see. So what happens if I will get into, because we have your email address, I will get in touch with you after the raffle. So so to ask in which country you're located, so we know for which Amazon shop we should send you that gift card. All right, so the first one is the 50 euro Amazon gift card. So let's take a look. Let's see who is going to be the winner. Drum roll. See, that's not good. So that's when things happen in real time. Okay, so because it's personal data that I have in the file here, I would just switch that over here. Hopefully I can fix that quickly. Hopefully. Okay, I still have 8 minutes, so that's the most important, the most exciting part of my session is, okay, does Heiko handle to get that raffle being done? If not, I will do that afterwards, and we will inform you guys who are the lucky winners. But I'm still positive, so let's try to do it just one more time. And we're hopefully getting it done. Live debugging, yes, yeah. Demo effect. Thanks for helping me out. Let's see. So, all right. So let's see. Should we do life? Na. Life is life. I think we're getting there. Yeah, I think it should work. Ooh, all right. Let's try it another time. Ding. So here we are. Okay. Let's see what's happening. Ooh, okay, we have a happy winner. So this is so for the 50 euro Amazon gift card. The winner is Stefan. Good, I would say. So I will get in touch with you afterwards to get some information about your country and so how we establish let that Amazon gift card being created. So okay, second winner, which is a 25 Amazon gift card. It is Nick Ferdinande. Again, I will get in touch with you afterwards. And the third one. Oh, okay, now it's even more exciting. Ricardo Silva. So we have 3 lucky winners. So thanks for joining the session. Thanks for being still there while I was trying to get this to work. So still 5 minutes left. If you have any questions, please let me know. Just looking at the chat.
Thank you once again, Heiko, for your session. Very fun and exciting session, and congratulations to all the winners there. So thanks for that. So once again, please Heiko, share the contact details in the chat window. Yes. So people know how to get in contact with you. That'd be really helpful.
Well, I also will post the links for our PowerShell poster and the security guys.
Fantastic.
I think might be helpful.
That's great. And again, thank you for covering the topics of Power Platform, which is a very big topic right now for a lot of the community. And so that was really great as well. So thanks again for doing that, Heiko.
Thank you.
So that was Heiko from Germany. So again, Heiko's obviously a fun character. Always great to have you involved, Heiko. And thanks again for the prizes.
Thank you.
That's great. So as we now, our next up will be, whilst we still got 4 more minutes, there are some more prizes you can win, right? So we have some books. So Pact Publishing are giving away 2 books. One book's on Power Apps Cookbook. The other one is on Power Automate. So you can win those books, and there's also swag you can win as well. So we have other swag as well that you can win. For those community members who are using the hashtag Global Automation Bootcamp, posting on LinkedIn, Twitter, as well as being engaging We will be awarding those prizes at the end of the day, and we'll also be carrying on next week as well. So we've moved the Azure track to next week, and so we will be also carrying on some more sessions next week as well. So that was just some updated information for everyone, so that we can, so that you're all fully aware of those. So yeah, there you go. Thanks for that, Heiko. So you've got the contact details there. So we've still got a very action-packed agenda for today. For those who are not aware of the agenda for today, next up, we have a celebrity from the database community, who I regard as a celebrity anyway. Is someone who I'm very, very well entrenched in the SQL community, doing lots of stuff around data. And that's Rob. That's Rob. So Rob is up next, but after Rob, it's Marcus Butterhoff, who's covering Azure Functions with PowerShell. After that is Jop. So we've got Jop again. He's covering PowerShell and Power Automate from the Netherlands. And then after that, we've got Microsoft, managing Microsoft 365 through Graph API, PowerShell, and Power Automate. That's Jens Torre. And that's followed by automating Dynamics 365 CE deployments using PowerShell script. So a lot of these topics are topics that you've requested, topics that you are facing on your projects. And so that's how we've selected these sessions. I know user management is a big one for many of you, for all of us actually. So it was great to be able to cover and address those topics today. Look at that. The man himself, it's Rob.
Hello.
Look at that. So Rob, so it's a great privilege to host you today. Normally the Power Platform and these business applications communities tend to be worlds apart, but it's great that they're coming together, and so that's why it's a great privilege to be able to host you today, having that ability to do that. So really, really good. I've seen you in person a few years back, and I know you do lots and lots of stuff, especially in the UK, around databases and SQL. Great to have you on today on your session, where you will be, I know you'll be sharing more details about your session, but you are covering PowerShell, Excel automation, and Jupyter notebooks. Obviously, I'll let you fill us all in on that. So I think we're almost on the hour, and we can see your screen as well, Rob. What I'll do is, I know a lot of people, I won't keep everyone waiting. What I'll do is hand it over to you, Rob.
Thank you very much.
So, Rob, your volume is a bit low, I have